Okay, I wanted to make a quick video since well, you know, um, George Lopez. The, the George Lopez outburst right now. A lot of people are getting offended because he made a joke that was actually very true. He mentioned that there are rules in the Latino communities and families, and that is to not bring home anyone black. And I can understand why someone would be offended, and I'm not in any way condoning anything that he did or said after a black woman was offended. But I do want to point out that he was being honest, he was being truthful. There is a caste system in Mexico and other Latin American communities, and it is something that people can look up in Brazil, Cuba, all different types of places to whiten up the race for the betterment of the race because of the indoctrination and the difficult shit that you go through as a darker skinned person of Latino or African descent, anything like that, because Latino is a culture, but still, there are a lot of us out there that are black Latinos. So, with that being said, I had to actually speak up when it came to a lot of my people who are not Latino and just remind them of a similar situation that, in my opinion, was worse based on the same situation. He was just as wrong for being angry at someone who was offended by a joke that had to do with Mexicans, and that was Katt Williams, where he started going in on the Mexicans about illegal immigrants and going to pick oranges and all this foul, shady, fucked up shit. And George Lopez, he called her a fat bitch and went on like a 1 minute rant about how she needs to sit her fat ass down, shut her fat ass up, fat, 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 fat. But he didn't want to say your black ass, black bitch, you this, that, and the other. But either way, it was still disgusting the way that he handled it, because at this time right now, especially with Trump in office and all of his little retarded inbred goons talking about Trump's gonna make America great again, Trump ooga booga 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 ooga booga booga. There's a lot of racial tension, a whole lot of racial tension, and black folks should not have to hide or deny any kind of offense taken. None of that shit. Black folks go through a lot of shit. Latinos do too. The darker you are in the Latino home, you're called blackie, negro, negrito, all types of stuff. It's the same thing with the black communities. That's why in the black communities in America, a lot of people want light-skinned babies with good hair and all this other shit. The caste system has done a number on all of us. And hopefully this shit with George Lopez won't specifically just, which I fear it will, just, I fear it's going to do more damage than good, because it's very difficult for us to be offended with something like that, even though we know comedians make most of their jokes based on, finding laughter in a painful situation. Like Freddie Prinze, he was one of the first really popular Puerto Rican comedians, him and Richard Pryor, and their entire stand-up act was mostly surrounding race relations. And they mentioned blackness on a regular basis, Latinos and Puerto Ricans and all different types of stuff. And in today's, we have really started to censor so much stuff that people are getting more offended by words than actions and systemic oppression. And that's why white people, I mention it on a regular basis, how they think that racism has to do with their feelings being hurt more so than an oppressive system that keeps black and Latino people in poverty or being overlooked when they're murdered unarmed, or when their children are murdered for no-knock warrants and things like this. Black and Latino people, they have more in common than a lot of us are willing to see. And there are more black Latinos than anything, which is ironic considering in America we have this idea of what a Latino looks like. And It's usually a mestizo that looks kind of like George Lopez, or, a very light, fair skinned type of Eva Longoria type. And I can't help but speak up for this because when it comes to him and Katt Williams, one made one line about don't bring any black people home, and it's just hysteria. One of them made an issue about illegals and then went on like a 2 or 3 minute rant about go sell me some oranges, go sell some oranges on the side of the road, and dug in deeper into that racist mindset. And a lot of black folks have forgotten about it or simply didn't know about it because it wasn't blown up to the same proportion that this is being. And I think when it comes to George Lopez, he felt more comfortable making this joke based on the fact that he's on tour with black men who most likely didn't find or take offense to something like that, because most of us know he was telling the truth in a funny way like comedians do. Not saying that everybody thinks he's funny. I know there's a lot of people that don't because they don't understand the you have to really identify with the stuff that he says to find humor in it. And that's why I could, because I grew up in a Mexican home. I grew up with Mexican people, with Mexican family. But that's neither here nor there. But hopefully people will see the similarities of Mexicans and black Americans. Mexicans being mestizos mixed with the Native American and the European. Black people being mixed with African and European. Both colonized people. One group stolen from their land. One group having their land stolen. Yada yada, same old song and dance. In a perfect world, we would all just see our similarities and blame the people who we need to be for the caste system, which is white people. And as much as white people can get offended or take offense, you always want to blame the white man, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to society and when it comes to the anti-Mexican and the anti-African American rhetoric, it all stems from white people and their stereotypes and laws and stuff like that. It's something at least to consider. So me speaking up today, I was speaking up just to remind people, not to say, hey, George Lopez isn't wrong, because I didn't find the joke offensive because of how I know he was telling the truth, but the way he reacted to the woman in the audience that was offended was completely out of line. There's no excuse for it, and I'm not about to make an excuse for that bullshit. That was horrible. And on the other hand, I could say the same with Katt Williams. I don't care for Katt Williams just based on, and it had nothing to do with his anti-Mexican stuff. And they took him on TV to actually speak to him about that too. So it's not like he got off for what, one's being reprimanded for. But at least consider, white folks putting this crap out there so that we can all get angry at each other and then take the, take all of the energy away from where we should really be putting it. All the negative energy should be put towards white people, white Americans, period. And as usual, I don't care which white people are offended, because I don't consider your opinion anything of importance to me. I could care less about y'all. And y'all prove every single day the feeling is mutual, so go fuck yourselves. But for as far as black people and Mexicans and other Latinos, at least consider a lot of us Latinos are black as well. So we can see both sides to, yeah. But welcome to America.